Want awesome tabletop games delivered right to your door? Sign up now for Gamebox Monthly. Learn more at GameboxMonthly.com.
You're listening to Too Many Records with your host, Matt Kessler.
All right, guys, welcome to the Too Many Records podcast. This is the first episode of the Too Many Records podcast, and I have a special guest on today. This is Mr. Jake Lloyd.
Hey, how's it going, Matt?
How is it going, Jake?
It's going great.
The one of the creators of Dragon Wagon.
Yes, Dragon Wagon Radio, which I am very happy to be hosting the official Too Many Records podcast. And I'm pleased that I was asked to be the first guest.
Yes,
despite having really no experience with records.
Right. Well, this episode, I kind of wanted to talk about something that was mutual between us, which is our love for Pearl Jam.
Right. Fantastic.
But first, I think I want to maybe set the stage and let everybody know what this is.
Yeah. What is Too Many Records?
Too Many Records is a YouTube video series that I started about 2 years ago. Actually, it's about 2 years ago, like to this week, I believe.
Wow.
Which is kind of cool, as of this recording at least. And it's just me talking about my massive record collection, which I have aptly named Too Many Records.
Do you have a number? I'm always curious.
Oh, yeah.
Is there a number? What's the number?
Okay, so I guess it fluctuates. I would say give or take 100, but I think I'm sitting at about 1,500 records.
1,500 records.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah, and of that, I would say...
Hey, Matt.
Yeah.
That's too many records.
You know, I thought that's too many records. Of that, I'd say about 200 to 300 of them are from the 50s to the 80s. So the majority is from 1990 till now.
Wow. So you don't have a lot of vintage records. Although how sad is that technically I think the 90s is now vintage. But.
well, I do have a lot if you think about it. Like I'm saying I have 300 of those vintage era records.
Right,
that's more than most people have in general. I have a problem as you can see.
Yeah, no, it's an admirable problem.
There are worse problems in this world to have.
I'm sure.
But I truly love every aspect of collecting. I love making a list of what records I want, be it virtual or pen and paper.
Yeah. And
then going to a store and going to the new or the new arrivals of the used records and just kind of you're never sure what you're going to find store to store, day to day.
So part of the obsession is like the hunt?
The hunt is a major part of the obsession.
Yeah.
I would say that I get just as much joy finding a record that I want as I do listening to it.
Gotcha. So it's almost that sort of like, it's that high. Of like, oh my God, I cannot believe this is in this rack. I'm going to buy this right now. Holy crap, this thing that I've been looking for X, however many years or days.
You're always chasing the dragon, and you never quite get it.
Is that what they say about Coke or heroin?
Heroin addiction? Yeah. Honestly, I mean, it's like heroin, except it doesn't destroy my body, which is great. It's just a financial and time complication.
Right. So when I told you that we were starting this podcast network, it would just seemed only fitting to do a podcast version of Too Many Records.
Right. I had no idea how to get that started. So the fact that you were like, yeah, I got this. You're fine. I was like, great. Oh, perfect. So I could just come do the podcast and like, you'll take care of the stuff I don't know how to do. Let's do it. This sounds great.
Right. So here's a question. What, for people who maybe are already familiar with the YouTube show, who are coming to now the podcast for the first time, what is anything you want to say to your loyal viewers who are now going to be loyal listeners as far as maybe what to expect that's different? Or are you still kind of winging it?
Well, I feel like I'm always going to be winging it.
Right.
But what I want to say to those people...
And by that we mean playing Wings, the records over and over and over.
I only have McCartney in my collection. We're going to be winging specifically Wings era McCartney. No, I want to say to them that this is a really cool addition to the show. It's kind of like a companion, I think. I'm not going to make an episode of Too Many Records that's 30, 40, 50 minutes long, but I have enough to say because I'm pretty opinionated and I think I know my stuff. So this is kind of going to be an extension of certain thoughts I have about music, about records, and I hope to get guests on the show throughout the lifetime of the show's run that would be interested in records, but also just musicians or people that like music or people that can talk music with me. I think getting different perspectives that necessarily wouldn't flourish as well on the show as it would flourish on the podcast.
Right.
So I think it's a cool separate medium to kind of expand on what I want to discuss.
Awesome. And you're definitely, I mean, if anybody has seen the show, like you are definitely well versed in the world of records. Nobody can argue that, sir.
I would like to think I can hold my own against most.
1,500,
and that's
Good
nothing.
God.
I mean, you hear about people like Madlib, the producer, who has like 50,000 records or something absurd. It's just like
crazy.
I feel like a nobody compared to
like,
that.
There has to be times where you like look through your collection and go, oh, I forgot I had this. Like that has to happen.
Yes, and that's a cool moment because it's like I don't have to buy this because I own this.
So it's usually, oh, I forgot I had this. Awesome, I want to listen to this, and I don't have to go out and do the hunt again. No,
right?
Great.
Yeah. Although sometimes you like hunting for it. You're like, wait, I don't have to look for this. It's in my shelf.
Yeah.
Then
Now,
you're like, oh.
do you buy exclusively used records, or do you have no problem going out and buy a new release because it's a fun new thing?
I buy a mixture of new and
Gotcha.
used. I mean, a lot of my modern stuff obviously comes new. The used stuff would come from the period of time from before I started collecting records where stuff already went out of print. I mean, records that came out as recent as 2015 have gone out of print.
Right.
And when records go out of print, they can either stay around the same price that they retailed for, or they can escalate in price dramatically and skyrocket to triple digits.
Right.
I've definitely spent triple digits on records before, and that's not something I'm super proud of, but
but that's the game.
Whatever satiates
right?
that itch.
Yeah, I have, as you can see, my record collection is just barely short of yours. I think I have about 15 of them.
50,
and I think there's only 3 in there that I would ever
just a couple
listen
zeros
to.
and you're there.
They're literally like they're records that probably somebody brought from a garage sale that they paid a dime for. It's rare that I do go buy records. It's rare that I go to a record store. And it's even rarer than that when I'm there, I find something and I go, oh, actually, I want this. Because because I don't listen to records regularly and because I don't have a collection, my list is a very fine, small list of like, okay, you know what I want to get on record? I want to get my favorite albums.
Mm-hmm.
I want to
That's how it starts.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, great. So I'm 15. I'm just shy of 1,500 in the future. Then
I will say the more time you spend with me, the more it's going to rub off.
It's just,
yeah.
Well,
records.
apparently,
I brought you a gift today.
Apparently, my collection just quadrupled.
Yeah, at least doubled. I just brought you a bunch of records that I had doubles of, or ones that I just don't listen to that I thought you might like. There's some that you might be like, why would I ever listen to Sting?
Can we go through a couple of them?
Sure.
Yeah. Can you grab the bags?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he brought these 2 giant bags. These geez Louise, and apparently I'm just getting gifted. Is this my like? Oh, thanks. Look at this. All right, so let's look through some of these.
Yeah,
you got a bag. I got a bag.
These are yours for free 99.
This is amazing.
Please help me.
I mean, I'm thoroughly excited about this. You have no idea. So most of these are These are from your pre-90s eras.
Yeah,
of the stacks of stuff. Oh, come on. I got 2 sides of the Smothers Brothers.
Well, I know you're a huge comedy guy.
I am.
And that's classic, OG comedy right there.
Abbey Road is one on here. This is probably a very common record, isn't it?
The Beatles, people misconception about records is that you think the stuff like Thriller and all that stuff is going to be really expensive. And like an original pressing and clean condition is going to be. But they were so popular that they pressed infinite amounts of them. So they're pretty easy to find.
Another Monty Python record.
That one's weird. I don't know what the deal with that is, because if you look at the back of it. Okay, you are looking at the back. Back, it's like not that.
Yeah.
But it is 2 Monty Python discs in there.
So it's a Monty Python record, but there's like
a misprinted jacket, maybe?
The fold of it, and the jacket says Beethoven Symphony Number 2 in D. It seems like a Monty Python thing that they would do.
Right.
I wonder if there's any Monty Python fan. Like, this is something I'm interested to research. Like, maybe they just released this as it's a joke? It's funny because literally one side of it says Beethoven, and people will buy it thinking.
Maybe. Do you think that scribble is part of the art? No.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Does it look like it was drawn on? I didn't even.
Yeah, no, that's definitely on there. That's not because if that was a crayon, you can't write crayon on.
Oh yeah, you're right. I looked at this scribble. There's a scribble on the back of it where it's scribbled out Beethoven and it says another Monty Python record. I thought that was what the person who owned it wrote, but I guess that's pretty funny.
I like how you subtly got rid of your Bill Cosby records in here.
I mean,
you're gonna make me be that guy who has Bill Cosby records.
I don't want to be the guy.
2017.
I don't want to be the guy.
No?
I thought you'd be
What's
the
in
guy.
that bag? I thought we were both gonna bust these out.
Yeah, it's time for you to bust them out. These are for you. I've had them.
Actually, this is actually pretty fantastic.
Buffalo Springfield?
Yeah, dude, I love Buffalo Springfield. Fantastic.
Because you have taste.
Because I have taste. I don't know about that.
Dude,
these are fantastic.
Want to go through bag 2?
Yeah, I do want to go through bag 2. I know the listeners are probably like, yeah, great. Let's listen to him fucking look at records.
This one's, you might have to rip the bag to get them out.
While I'm looking at these, I will tell you, like, the only records that I do have that were like a definitive, oh, I bought this, are, because you brought it up, a comedy. I have Steve Martin, you know what I mean? Like there's those sorts of things. And then I was gifted, I'm sure we're going to talk about this a little bit later, I was gifted a Pearl Jam 10.
Oh, we're going to talk about that.
Okay. Oh, shit, I got Off the Wall in here. Alan Parsons Project. Carlin, Class Town, Huey Lewis and the News. All right, there's some quality in here, man.
I didn't just give you BS. I
no,
promise.
You didn't. You didn't just give me garbage. Oh, come on, dude. You know I'm from Long Island, right?
That's why I put it there.
I just put out a Billy Joel record. That's like if you're from Long Island and you don't like Billy Joel, you're not allowed to be.
It's like if you're from Jersey and you don't like Bruce Springsteen.
Exactly. Billy Joel. How sad is that Billy Joel is my Bruce Springsteen?
Well, okay, Billy Joel is great. He's just no Springsteen, but he's great. That is one of the best albums of all
fantastic. Time. There's a Stevie Wonder record in here. I used to work for this Brazilian magazine company, this music magazine. I used to do video work, and they would send me to NAMM with their reporter who would just interview people. And it was for like their web content, right? For their web magazine. It was the end of the last day of NAMM. For people who don't know, NAMM is a big music industry trade show that's out here in Anaheim. And I was working, and it was the last day. I was in such a bad mood because it was not a fun experience for me that weekend. Usually I have a great time, but for work and business reasons, it wasn't great. I'm sitting there at the company's booth waiting for the guy to show up to give me my check so I could leave for the weekend and go home. And I'm waiting there. And our booth is directly across from the Hohner booth, the organs. And all of a sudden, there's this crowd that starts coming around the corner. And there's this, by the way, there's like nobody in our little aisle. It's this little podunk aisle. Fucking Stevie Wonder is walking through the floor with his entourage. He walks into the Hohner booth. They sit him down. I am not much farther away from him than I am from you now.
Wow.
I mean, maybe an additional 5 or 6 feet. Do you know what I mean? I mean, and he just starts playing. And there's immediately a crowd starts to surface, but I was just sitting in our booth waiting, and they're right next to us. And so I got like, and here's the thing, I've never gotten to see him play live. I've always wanted to go to a concert.
I've never either, yeah.
And he's one of my heroes. I mean, I started crying.
I don't blame you. That's magic.
It was amazing. And there were some security people who were like constantly putting their hands up to make sure people weren't like filming or taking pictures. And I had my HVX 200 at the time, the camera that I was using that week. I was like, oh, fuck this. So I immediately pulled that thing up in the air. I pulled it out and I started like shooting like high quality. So I have like high quality footage I shot of Stevie Wonder just riffing. Like he just sat down and he was just riffing. And then he started playing a couple tunes and he was just, oh God, it was so amazing. It was like magical. Like I'm getting goosebumps just remembering.
The only thing that would have made that better is if Daft Punk popped out, like that one performance at the Grammys.
No love for Will Smith doing the Wild Wild West version of it or whatever.
Oh Lord, you mean the worst performance of all time on TV
with Cisco? No, not
that
Cisco.
Was it? What was it? Big Daddy Kane? No, it was. No, who was it? It was.
Wasn't it? Who does Thong Song?
Cisco. But
okay,
I think
it was Cisco. What was that from? I don't know where I pulled this out of my ass. I think it was a MTV Music Movie Awards.
Yeah, it was
performance, right?
Yeah, but but there was some rapper. I can't remember who it was. I watched that performance in the past year.
What?
Because
random.
I just wanted to like remember how bad it was, and it was worse than I remembered.
That's fantastic. I don't know why I pulled that up.
Once upon a time, I did own the Wild Wild West soundtrack on vinyl because I got it for $1 at a flea market.
I believe it.
I don't have it anymore.
So here's the thing. So about my potential would-be vinyl collection, I would love to start getting film scores on vinyl. I feel like that's the sort of thing where I'm more inclined to put on in the background.
Scores or soundtracks?
I'm sorry. Scores. Yeah, scores, not soundtracks. Yeah. Only because I do love, I have a massive collection digitally, but it would be nice to, especially like, I feel like when I think of putting on a record, I love hearing a big band. You know what I mean? Like one of my favorite records I do have is my Blues Brothers record. I'm a massive Blues Brothers fan. And like I have the Essential Blues Brothers record, and that I could put that on and listen to like Sweet Home Chicago, listen to just any of their sort of like blues. And I know that's not big band, but it's still like a full horn orchestra style music. Like that to me.
What about more orchestral stuff, like something more modern? Like, have you seen The Fountain?
No, I have not seen The Fountain.
I haven't seen it either. But
no,
but here's the thing. It's my college roommate, one of my best friends in the world. His favorite movie at the time, and Darren Aronofsky movie, but the
Yeah, I know.
soundtrack was done by Clint Mansell.
Oh,
And it is one of the most, I've heard the soundtrack many times. It's one of the most beautiful, breathtaking
Yeah.
soundtracks.
no, I love Clint Mansell
It
music.
got a vinyl pressing for the first time ever this past year in 2016 by Mondo, which is high quality.
Yeah.
And I managed to, a buddy of mine was at MondoCon down in Austin. He grabbed the exclusive variant of it for me. And it goes for like $150, $200 now. And he got
Wow.
it for like $30.
Wow.
So I have it on vinyl, and I haven't even opened it because I'm too afraid to open it.
Yeah.
Like I've heard it a million times digitally, but I'm like, this is such a rare record. I'll open it one day.
Yeah. That's the segue of stuff that's not opened. So my one unopened, my only jewel in my little very small, now double the size record collection, is the Pearl Jam 10.
Yes, you have an original pressing of Pearl Jam 10 that
Which I
you
didn't know.
realize
I didn't know.
was a first pressing until I was like, dude.
Because I didn't know that you could look that up.
Yeah, Discogs is a magical tool. But wow, of all the records you have, I am very jealous of that one.
Yeah. And so that one was a gift for me from an ex. And I, to this day, wonder if she even knew that it was original pressing.
She might not have.
Or if it was just like, oh, I went into a store and they had this and I bought it and that store happened to have one. Like, I'm very curious about that. And it's not the kind of ex that I still am friends with. So I'll never know because I'll never talk to her ever again. Yeah. So I do have that. And with that said, I have never opened it because I'm like, well, you know what? I'm like, I don't know. It's 10. Do you mean like it's a thing that honestly, even though I've had records for a while, I only recently got a record player within the past year. So for the most part, it just kind of sat on my shelf as like a decorative thing.
Sure.
Much like I have the Rocky soundtrack on the shelf above us here, like
Yeah,
just
yeah.
because it looks nice up there.
It does.
But
So for you guys listening, Pearl Jam is, I'm going to say right now, one of the best bands ever to exist.
I will
And
never disagree with that statement.
this is an opinion that I formed in the past 6 months. I've been listening to music for a long time, and I recently gave them their fair shot.
Why?
Because
Like why just now?
why go home? It's a Pearl Jam joke for you, Pearl Jam fan. What happened was I've always known 10 because 10 is iconic. There's so many tracks on there that people know whether you're a fan of Pearl Jam or not.
Right.
One day I have Sirius XM in my car, and it gets me through traffic in LA.
Okay.
And I was flipping around the stations to be like, I don't know what else is on besides what I listen to. I usually listen to the hip hop stations. I use the Sirius XMU indie station. That was like my go-to.
Right.
And I found there was a Pearl Jam station. I was like, Pearl Jam has their own station. That's pretty impressive. They're not like the other stations like Grateful Dead, Bruce Springsteen. I'm like, I get those having their own stations. Pearl Jam though, that's an interesting choice.
I would never think so because I know that they have a massive, massive following.
Right. So I started listening to it, and I remember I listened for like all day that day, and I was like, wow, there's some songs I've obviously never heard on there. They're really good. I started listening for that the rest of the week, and I was like, oh my God. At the end of the week, I was like, every song I've heard, I've loved.
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way this band is this good. So I was like, I'm just going to keep listening until I find some songs I don't like.
You can just keep listening until you find the reason you haven't been listening to Pearl Jam.
Right.
Yeah, that's
and
funny.
I ended up realizing, oh my God, this band is unbelievable. And what happens when I start to love a band is I become obsessive.
Okay.
And I become obsessive, and I want to learn everything about them, and I want to get every record they own, and I try to acquire them as fast as possible, which is not
healthy.
Not healthy at all. But
do me a favor, never start that heroin habit.
yeah, I don't have the money for it because of records, it's just
okay, good.
But with Pearl Jam, it's interesting, and I'm going to talk about each of the situation with vinyl regarding each album as we go through their discography. But a lot of their stuff is out of print, really hard to find.
Really?
So
do you think it's just because Pearl Jam fans are fucking crazy diehard fans, and so that stuff people don't resell it? They don't. People buy it up immediately and then it just stays with their collections.
I feel like that's a big factor of it. I feel like another factor is that a lot of them haven't been reissued.
Oh,
so they all got purchased back when they were released, and then they just are waiting for a repress, and some of them recently got much awaited represses, which I will get into. But you've been a Pearl Jam fan
since the beginning, yeah. So
right. Talk about that.
So a lot of who I am artistically comes from, believe it or not, my next door neighbor. I grew up next to a family that had a bunch of siblings. There were 3 brothers and a sister. The sister was my exact age. She's like my best friend growing up, Jen. Her older brothers were not quite my brother's age and a little bit more like us, even though there's still an age difference. And like pretty much everything I like is kind of because they liked it. Do you know what I mean? So like,
Sure.
so like the reason I got into comic books was because they both loved, because the other brothers were comic books. So they were sort of like, I looked up to them, and so they were like grunge kids through and through. And they were obsessed with Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, all the obvious, Nirvana, obviously.
Chains.
Yeah. But Pearl Jam was the big one. And I just remember Danny Fisher. Shout out to Danny if you're listening. I miss you, bud. I just remember him being obsessed with Pearl Jam. I have this memory of me at maybe 10 years old. I'm not quite sure exactly what age it was. It had to be around there. Oh, ironically, 10. I just realized that. My sister, my oldest sister, who's like 10 years older than me, who's the reason I like, hair bands and stuff like that. Cause she was into like the 80s metals. Like she's the reason I listen to Guns N' Roses and Poison and shit like that.
Every number in this story is going to be 10.
Right? It's so weird. Okay. So she brought me to Sam Goody when it existed.
Ooh, Sam Goody, throwback. Virgin Megastore?
And was like, you can, pick out a couple tapes. And I'm pretty sure the very first tapes that I ever bought that were of my own, like, I'm going to go buy this tape, were Pearl Jam 10 and like a Weird Al Yankovic.
Logical pairing right there.
It should be known that I was too young. So I'm 34. So if we do the math, 10 came out when when is it, 1994? Is that when 10 came out? I want to say 94. I should know this as a Pearl Jam fan.
It came out in
earlier.
91.
91, yeah. Okay, so
August 27th.
91. Okay, so I am 8 when it comes out. I'm probably not. Yeah, maybe I am 9, 10. So it's probably been out for 2 years. But here's the thing is, I don't think Versus was out yet. So my timeline might be wonky. But in any case, I'm too young to really like Pearl Jam, I think. Does that make sense? Like, it's not the kind of music.
Am I?
It's not the kind of no. I meant at this time, like when I'm buying this tape,
right.
Like especially that album. Like it's not the kind of thing that I don't think a kid would really like. So I think it was just so different, and I was just like, it blew my mind as a kid. I played that tape over.
It was a sound that defined a generation,
and over and over. By the way, I'm only going to say this to defend a well thought theory. I agree with that, but I think most people would tell you that it's Nirvana. I have had the Nirvana versus Pearl Jam conversation with many friends.
I think they were friends. I don't think we need to compare them.
No. But it's you could do a whole episode on that, and you should. I'm going to tell you exactly who you should get on. You should get on Rob Galuzzo. Rob Galuzzo is an insane Nirvana fan and also a big Pearl Jam fan, and he loves talking about the Nirvana and Pearl Jam duo.
Yeah.
Anyway,
future episode to come.
I digress. So, yeah. I absorbed it. I loved Pearl Jam so much that I think that from that point on, like I immediately, once I became of age where I could start getting, what was it, BMG? What was the CD? Remember the CD program where like you always did it like Columbia House or whatever
Columbia
it was.
House.
And I always do it in your mom, and like you wouldn't tell your parents. And it's like once I started doing that, like anything that I got, that was when I started becoming obsessed with music. So Pearl Jam was really, even though like I had music when I was a kid because of my siblings, Pearl Jam was really what like got me into my own discovery of music. Whereas every music previously was sort of handed to me. And even though, the reason I like Pearl Jam is because of my neighbor, it's more about like the fact that when I did finally sit down and listen to them, it became like, oh, this is me. Like, this is how I represent,
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and then the obsession just began. Like that's how it started. And I was that kid in high school with like the little Alive guy, the little Alive logo, like, on my pants and like.
The real question is, when did you join the 10 Club?
10 Club came pretty late because I didn't know that it was a thing until much later on in life. Like I was a late adopter to like researching shit on the internet. Do you know what I mean? Like that. That's kind of.
I don't know what you mean, but okay.
But I was that kind of person. So honestly, 10 Club didn't come until I was already an adult. I think the very first 10 Club thing I ever got was the Last Kiss.
Such a good cover. I love that cover.
And so I think that was like so, and I was only a 10 Club member for a short time, and then I kind of falling in and out of it as time goes on.
Do you have that Last Kiss record?
No, I have the CD. Yeah.
Oh, we're talking about the CD.
Again, yeah, I didn't have. The little LP that they sent out, whatever that's called.
That's 7-inch. Yeah.
7, yeah. See, I don't know what that means.
I mean, it's 7 inches.
But in any case, so that's my obsession with it. That's where it began, and it never ended.
Perfect. Well, it's funny because like I said, I dive headfirst into a band when I love them, and I found out about the 10 Club. For those listening, 10 Club is the Pearl Jam official fan club, and it was started by a super fan, and they just kind of adopted it and were like, all right, this is our club. and you pay some money to join. And I don't know if it was always like this, but there's 2 different memberships. There's analog and digital. Digital gives you access to downloading some of their bootleg concerts and getting their newsletter and access to their store and early access to tickets.
Yeah.
And analog comes with a shirt when you sign up. Whatever year you sign up, you get an exclusive
shirt for that year.
And then you get a 7-inch record around the holidays, which I don't think I got one yet for this past year, which is weird. So I'll look into that. But and I think you get a newsletter as well, like a physical newsletter.
Right.
So I joined immediately when I got headfirst into Pearl Jam, and I'm actually wearing my 10 Club shirt right now.
Yeah,
and I didn't even realize till just now. But it says I'm analog, which is cool.
Oh, you're so cool.
So cool. Fits into my aesthetic really nicely. But so let's start with 10. Let's talk about 10. 10 is, I think, one of the best debut albums by a band ever in terms of quality of song and iconic nature of the songs.
Yeah. And I think it's also, I mean, obviously this is all, everything we say here is opinion. I'm sure some people listening to this like, oh God, I hate Pearl Jam.
Right.
I mean,
if you hate Pearl Jam, you probably tuned out by now.
Yeah. But
come back next time.
But I also think that, and I'm going to say this of a lot of Pearl Jam records, but 10 is also one of those few perfect records. Like I think like
there's not one track I would skip ever.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those records that you just put on and it just goes, and then you go, oh, it's over. I need to restart it.
Because I mean, Once is how the album starts with Once, that is such a killer opener.
It's also it's an epic song.
The first time he screams
for a grunge, for a grunge album, for the first time, especially if it's your first time ever hearing the band. If you're listening in chronological order, like I mean, I vividly remember like putting the album in and just hearing those sounds.
Oh yeah, that lead into it.
Yeah, that lead into it, and just being like, what is this? And then all of a sudden, the wall of sound that hits, and you're just
But like the singles that came from this album, you have Even Flow. Alive, Black,
the most popular one,
Jeremy,
of course, being Jeremy,
Oceans. Was Porch a single?
I don't know if Porch was a single as much as I think that people would. Wasn't it covered by quite a few people like later on? I think it just became one of their more popular songs that wasn't a single. I don't know.
And then
specifically,
even the songs that were not singles are arguably my favorite songs on the album. Why Go, Garden, Release.
Why Go? I think when I was young, I mean, it was always that thing where I think, I don't know about you, but I like have a favorite song of an album for a couple days and a different song for a couple days and
That's
different
the
song.
mark of a great album when you can't decide on the best song.
And I think that Why Go was like, man, that was one of my first favorite songs
because it's super aggressive and in your face, but so catchy.
And then
at the same time.
but then it all just breaks apart, and it gets like when he does the Why Go Home, Why? It's just like very kind of like distant. And for a moment, you get to think about it, and you get to go, why? And then. And it just comes back. You get that. I don't know. Again, that's a great tune.
Something about Pearl Jam, which I'll say right now, is that they get a lot of flack because of the bands that came after them.
Because of the sound-alikes.
With the post-grunge, the butt rock, as whatever you'd like to call it, the Nickelbacks,
Anytime anybody says that Creed sounds like Pearl Jam, I just go, no, they don't.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
They wish they sounded like Pearl Jam.
Eddie Vedder's voice is polarizing. I will give anybody that. It is not something that is super accessible. It's not like Bob Dylan's voice in sound, but it's like that in the sense of you either love it or you don't.
But it's also, here's the thing about Eddie Vedder's voice, is that it's also so insanely diverse, because there are entire albums that he sounds completely different than an entire other album.
Yeah.
And it's also just comes with like, the style in which he decides to sing that specific. I mean, obviously his earlier stuff, all the earlier stuff was a little bit harder. It was a little bit more, rock.
Edgy.
Yeah. Once you start getting into, Vitology and Okko, you start getting some of the more weird things. You start getting some of the more that odd timbre that he used to have. But I don't know. Like you say it's polarizing. I say it's mesmerizing. I mean, like it's
no.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think his voice is like just as strong as any of the instruments in the band.
Yeah.
It's unique. It has so much power behind it, like you said, and I love it. I feel like if his voice is what turns you off of the band, I really implore you to give it another shot.
So what's interesting about, just a little sidebar about like you getting into it, is my cousin PJ, PJ
Pearl Jam.
Yeah, there you go. My cousin PJ, he
is he 10?
To give you an idea, he has a 10-year-old son. To give you an idea, of his musical taste, like he liked Biohazard and Insane Clown Posse and Limp Bizkit.
You said musical taste.
Yeah. Okay, but get this though. So that was him, like obviously in the pinnacle of like the 1990s, 2000, whatever. Later on in life, he used to give me so much shit for being a Pearl Jam fan when we were younger. He used to like pick on me all the time for it. He became obsessed with Pearl Jam when he was in his late 20s, let's say. You know what I mean? And it was
he saw the light.
So, and it's so interesting to me. I'm wondering how many other people find Pearl Jam at that age for some reason or other. Maybe it is the sense of like, oh, when you're young, you're more easily irritated by something that's different. And Eddie Vedder's voice is so different that maybe you just go, oh, what is this?
I mean,
but then later in life, you go like, oh, you're more open. Maybe that's it.
I feel like I'm almost 28, and I think that I am going through my angsty grunge phase right now.
You're doing it exactly 10 years too late. 10. Oh my God,
10 years. No,
like
but
you should have done when you were 18.
I relate to a lot of it. I feel like it helps express a lot of the emotions I feel like I feel lately in my personal life.
Yeah.
And
see, that's crazy.
I love it.
Because for me, Pearl Jam has I feel like I've grown with Pearl Jam. Like I feel like every Pearl Jam record that comes out, I go like, oh yeah, this is
certain era of your life.
Yeah, like it is the soundtrack to my life. For them, a large part of it is, and them and many other artists, which I am also equally obsessed with. But yeah, Pearl Jam specifically, like.
Well, okay. 10 is so basically for those listening that don't know about there was a remaster of 10.
Yes.
And it really is a night and day change. It makes it a lot crisper, a lot cleaner. It's not quite as raw.
And that's the one that has like a more yellowish tone, the gold cover.
Yes.
Right.
So
it's the same imagery. It's desaturated. Same imagery.
So the original cover has like a pinkish magenta kind of cover, and that iconic thing in the middle of the hands. And then the reissue, the one that you can find fairly easily, is a 2-disc set. The first disc is the original mastering or mixing, and the second disc is the remastered. They both, I mean, it's the same album at the core of it, but they both are worth listening to. They both serve almost different purposes to me.
Right.
10 is not super hard to find.
Yeah.
There are a couple cool exclusive limited pressings of 10, not from the original, but the remastered one. There's like I think Newberry Comics did a Coke bottle clear pressing of it that goes for like triple-digit prices.
Yeah.
It's on my want list. I don't think I'll ever get it.
Yeah, I feel like I wouldn't mind getting another copy of a cheap version of it, just so that I can listen to the vinyl of it and hear it. Because I literally have never heard 10 on vinyl. I've never heard it.
Well, that's something that needs to change very soon.
I've never heard 10 on vinyl. I've heard the remastered versions of the songs.
Sure.
And can I tell you, like, it's not that I did not like it with any Pearl Jam I love, but like, so, you know, when I put music on my phone to listen to, like if I'm deciding on stuff, like I always go for the original version of whatever any album it is. I don't know what that is about me. Is it because I'm afraid of changing? It's a thing that I love.
I think it's a deep rooted psychological thing. Yeah.
Like I whenever something comes out and it's like, oh, remastered version, I'm like, no thanks.
I'm fine with the original. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I don't know if you had a chance to see this past Wednesday on the channel. I actually put out a unboxing video of the Pearl Jam Super Deluxe vinyl box set.
Oh. I remember you told me that you picked it up, but I didn't see the unboxing.
If anybody saw the video, there were some great comments. People loved it. It's a great box set. It is a definitive. If you like 10, this box set is out of control. I'm not going to go into too much detail because check out the video.
Yeah.
But it's the original LP, the remastered. There's a live concert from '92 from that era. It has like a notebook full of Eddie Vedder, like pictures from that tour and Eddie Vedder's thoughts. And it has the Mama-san cassette tape, which is the cassette that predated 10. Which was sent between, I think, Jeff Stone and him or something. It has all kinds of posters, and it has CDs. It has the MTV Unplugged performance on DVD in there.
Can I tell you, I have that. Not that thing, but I have. So when that came out, I figured out a way to set my VCR up to tape it, and then I did auxiliary outs into a tape player to make a cassette copy of it.
You're a genius.
So that I could have that version. And then as time has gone on, I have digitized those things, which is ridiculous because now you can just go online and probably freaking download it if I wanted to.
Sure, but at the time.
And I was just like, God, I love that Unplugged so
it's
much.
Amazing. The amount of like, Eddie's voice in that and like how powerful it is.
And especially the songs off of those albums because it's really exclusively 10. Like you wouldn't think that they would work unplugged, and they're so
Don't they
good.
do State of Love and Trust on it?
Yes, they do.
Can I talk
And
about
it's
that? So that
good.
song should have been on 10.
Yeah.
State of Love and Trust
It's one of the best songs ever
is
fucking
one of the
written.
best songs. It is one of the, I would say it's a quintessential Pearl Jam song. If I were to talk about top 10 Pearl Jam songs,
Absolutely.
without a doubt, it would be there. That is such a high energy, catchy.
It's so good.
I love that track.
It's so good.
But it's funny enough, there's a lot of the unplugged albums that MTV did. They were all so good.
Yeah.
I don't know why they stopped doing that. Maybe because bands aren't as good as they used to be when it comes to rock and roll. But I don't know. They could do like a good.
Maybe it's just because
Foo
MTV
Fighters
just
Unplugged.
stopped playing.
Maybe MTV stopped being
They
about
stopped-
music and started
yeah.
being about Super Sweet 16s.
Yeah.
But there's no official.
We're such old people.
I remember when MTV had music.
Yeah. That's ridiculous.
Ridiculous. But they have the Nirvana and the Alice in Chains on vinyl officially. Pearl Jam is not, but there's a bootleg of Pearl Jam Unplugged on vinyl, and I recently picked it up. It has surprisingly good sound quality. It's probably just the CD put to vinyl,
Right.
but I had to,
Yeah. No, I would.
Too
I
many
would.
records.
If
I
it
had
was
to, I had to
cheap.
pick it
Yeah.
up. It was fairly cheap. It was like $30 shipped from overseas, which is
Gotcha.
not bad. All right, moving on to verses. So, question about verses: why the hell is it called verses? It doesn't say that anywhere on the art or the spine.
Like, why do they call it Versus?
Yeah.
Like, why is the album called?
It should be called Pearl Jam, self-titled.
Well, no, that comes later, as you know.
It does, but it doesn't
I
say
never.
verses.
Can I say that I could have sworn that yeah, I guess it does. I feel like I have a copy of Verses where it says Verses in the bottom right hand corner below the goat
Mm-mm.
or the dog
Nope.
or whatever.
It
Wait,
just
I guess. Yeah, I know. I've never really thought about that. Yeah, no, it says Verses in the. No, wait.
no.
That's I and all the years I've been in Frozen, I never thought about that. It doesn't say it anywhere on that. But
Like why? But it's like so.
But is that here's the
obviously-
question: is that explicitly for the record, or did the CDs? Because I feel like,
I have
I
a
feel like- I
picture
feel like
right here of
this-
the CD art.
but I feel like the CD binding said Verses on it, just not the cover, maybe.
The record spine did not.
Yeah. See, it might. I don't. That's a great question, but I don't know. I thought you were asking
If
why is it
anyone
called
knows,
Verses.
please shoot me an email. I want to know.
Yeah, that's interesting. But another fantastic, perfect
What
album.
a follow up to 10.
I mean, so good.
I mean, I'm sure critics were like, "How are they going to top this?" I mean,
Um,
when you come out of the gates with an album like 10, where every song could be the single. I mean, that's like Boston's self-titled album, or even Third Eye Blind's self-titled album. Their first albums. Every song is so memorable and
Yeah.
good. It's like, how do you follow it up? And then they come out with verses, and it's just
And
a banger.
Here's the thing that like Verses to me is so incredible because you have something like Animal, okay,
Animal's great.
which is super incredibly aggressive, which is just a freaking it's just the type of like when Animal comes on, you drive faster.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's that and then you have something like Leash, which is a really beautiful song. It is aggressive and it's hard, but it's not necessarily a fast-paced
super melodic.
song. Yes, it's kind of
Yes.
a mellow song. And then you have freaking Elderly Woman, which is like
Which is the longest title in the Pearl Jam catalog.
yes,
Elderly Woman Behind the Counter in a Small Town.
Yeah. Oh God.
Sounds like a post-rock song.
I would give anything in the world to see a picture of the woman he was referring to.
I know. You know there's one.
Like who is she? Eddie.
Who is she?
Eddie, who is she, Eddie?
But here's the thing. On this album,
I want to make a t-shirt that says who is she, Eddie?
who is she?
Comma Eddie, question mark.
Beyond those tracks you just mentioned, I mean, Daughter.
Obviously one of the
Every
most
time I hear
well-known,
Daughter,
yeah.
it's in my head for at least 24 hours, and I
Well,
can't get it
yeah.
out. And
it's-
you told me that when they play that live, they often transition it into a cover or a different kind of
yeah,
something.
the end of Daughter is usually I mean, I figured you would know that. You have not heard a ton of the live stuff because it always ends up being another song of some sort.
I have, and there, a couple of them I do recognize they change. I know there's one where
So-
it goes straight into WMA from Daughter. And
Yeah, they do that. But sometimes, I mean, the most famous one, I think the first time that I ever heard them do it, oh God, was it on it might have been on the K-Rock Easter concert that I made a cassette tape of. Again, that like they played on the radio. It might have been on that, but they turned it into "We Don't Need No
that's cool.
Education."
That's awesome.
and that was fantastic. But I've heard them do it with tons of songs, and one of my favorite experiences ever was I got to see them live in Madison Square Garden when they were doing the Live at the Garden after Riot Act, I believe it was, and Ben Harper came out and did My Own Two Hands at the end of it, and God, is it amazing! Oh, it's so good. And by the way, that DVD is one of my favorite concert DVDs of all time. So good. But yeah, Versus is another freaking perfect album.
We're not even done though. We got Glorified G.
Glorified G. Okay, so can I tell you an embarrassing story about Glorified G? When I was a kid, I used to make like stupid music videos of just myself and my bedroom. I would like take a camcorder and I'd plug one side of it into the VCR, and then I'd take a CD player and put so the left channel would be the audio from the CD player and the video, like using RCA cables. Probably the single most embarrassing video footage of a young, chunky Jake who's probably shirtless with long hair.
You were the original Star Wars kid?
And oh my God, and like, I'm pretty sure that I have a pellet gun that I'm using.
The pellet gun.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm pretty sure I'm holding a pellet gun and I'm like pointing it around. It's straight out of the Goldbergs. It's probably, if I could find it, man, I would
love to see that.
You wouldn't, but I would enjoy to see it.
It's funny because
that album, yeah.
That's one of those songs when I listen to a live show, because SiriusXM has a lot of live shows that they play live straight through.
Yeah.
And it's really great. They have such a great presence live. The audience is so into it. And that's one of the songs where the audience chants back, like, pellet gun. The audience just sings the line back to them. And that's one of the first songs where they really do that in their catalog, I think. But then you got Dissident, Indifference. Like, this album is just front to back unbelievable. I feel like I want to talk about Vitology before we wrap up this episode.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would like to talk about it a little bit more. I mean, I don't know how long you want your episode to be. There's a lot of Pearl Jam.
I'm thinking maybe we need to do a part 2.
Oh, all right. That sounds great.
I mean, we haven't even scratched the surface of the catalog of albums. I think we can have an addendum for those that really want to hear our thoughts on the rest.
Well, in that case, can you tell me a little bit about, since you've given me the history on the 10 record, what is the history on the Versus records?
So Versus is fairly easy to find. The reissue apparently sounds great. I have it. It sounds apparently just as good as the original. You can find an original pressing of it though for $40.
Now, here's the thing about original pressing, is you say that, and I was surprised to find that my 10 original pressing didn't come out when 10 came out. Like, it came out a few years later. When was that one first released? 97? No, when was it? No, way later than that.
It was the same year.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, maybe.
No, because I thought when we looked it up, it said that 10 wasn't.
Maybe it was 93.
Like, yeah, it was like a couple. That's what I'm saying. It was a couple years later. So
because it had a CD pressing, but I guess it just didn't have. Maybe it got pressed around the same time Versus did.
And so here's just a general like records question from somebody who doesn't know a ton about records. Like, nowadays, I assume almost everything gets record because records are popular again.
Yes.
But during the 90s and 2000s and even early 2010s, like, were artists making records for everything that they put out, or was it something that might only happen if an album sold well in a couple of years? They might release a vinyl of it, that kind of thing.
What happened is, around the mid 90s, records started to fade,
right?
Because CDs were king, and a lot of albums did get vinyl pressings between 95 and like 2010. Around 2010 is when records started actually coming back, and then 2013 is when they became mainstream again. But it's funny because that era of music, those records go for such crazy prices because they didn't press
because they were rarer. Yeah.
They would press maybe 300 to 500.
And again, would they come out at the time the album would come out, or would they come out later?
They would come out at the time the album came out, but they wouldn't do represses. They wouldn't do like maybe they have like one limited variant, and then like, or maybe the whole thing was just like, here's 300, copies of this album on orange vinyl, and that was it. So yeah, that era is really hard to find stuff, and that's why they're doing a lot of reissues nowadays with that era because they're so hard to find. Like,
gotcha.
They just reissued Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains,
of course.
Degradation Trip.
Yeah.
They just reissued that.
Gotcha.
For the because
from who knows when. Yeah.
So stuff like that either didn't get a pressing or only got a very limited one is coming out now, which is nice.
All right. So what about Versus? So you said that Versus,
it's fairly easy to find. The vinyl situation's it's regulated. Pretty much through Vitology, it's regulated, and then that's when shit starts to get a little weirder. Actually, no. They recently reissued No Code and Yield, which I'll talk about. But after that, the vinyl situation is just very strange. And I got some good stories coming up for that. So
gotcha.
Part 2, we'll have to talk about that.
Yeah, Yield, man. I have some stuff to say about Yield.
That's why we can't end here.
Yeah. No, I get it. So, well, all right. So you want to talk about Vitology?
Let's end on Vitology because that's my favorite album of theirs.
I love that. I love that you're a new Pearl Jam fan and that's your favorite album, because I would assume that if I were to send somebody who had never listened to Pearl Jam a series of Pearl Jam albums, that would be probably one that they'd be like, that one was too weird for me.
It is incredibly weird. And you know what? I mean, you have songs like Bugs, which is like,
oh, I love that song so much.
That sounds like something the Who or the Beatles would have done in their weird phases, like Happy Jack era Who and like White Album era Beatles.
I used to play it on a shitty little Casio keyboard that I had because it was so simple. It was like,
Yeah.
because it's an accordion and the thing, but and I would like try to figure it out. And like that song, I loved it so much. I really feel like Vitalogy made me weird. Like I feel like Vitalogy, like I'm serious. Like Vitalogy made me accept like this level of kind of weird art. I don't know what you would call it if it was actual fine art, like not avant-garde. What would you call like a weird, like what would be the fine art equivalent of Vitalogy?
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
But here's the thing that's weird about it. I feel like if it wasn't Pearl Jam, I might not have liked it as much.
Oh, right. It's because you already had a pre-existing love for the band that you just kind of
you did
almost Stockholm Syndrome into liking it.
And you did have songs like Not For You and Splendid Black Circle.
Splendid Black Circle is great because it feels like it could have been on 10. It's like it has that angry, grungy aggression that they hadn't had.
And also the first two chapters of the Man trilogy.
They do like the songs about men.
Better Man and Nothing Man.
Wait, here's the thing. Wait, are those songs all related? No,
but they're because then Whipping Man. Yeah.
Better Man is probably my favorite Pearl Jam song. I know it's such like a basic song.
Didn't you say that about the last? For every album, you're gonna be like, "Oh, this is my favorite Pearl Jam song."
No. I said that City Love and Trust would be my top 10.
Oh, okay, fair point.
I said that Better Man's probably number one.
Here's
the thing.
Good.
That was the song when I heard it on XM. That was like I think I heard it on my first day listening to them.
But you knew the song already. You've heard it. You've never heard that song in your entire life.
Never heard it before. At least not to my recognition. And I heard it and I was like, this is a beautiful song.
Really? I find that really hard to
believe.
My
brain like exploded with how much I liked it. And then every time Better Man comes on, they have like a really cool version on XM that has like organs in it.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
But that song and then Nothing Man is equally beautiful in a different way. And that's when the audience sings with him too. That's really good. Tremor Christ.
Oh, Tremor Christ.
Last Exit. Oh, Corduroy. Corduroy is
all right. So Corduroy,
the guitar in that song.
Corduroy. So I do enjoy playing guitar myself, and Corduroy is when I first pick up a guitar. The first thing that I always do is the intro to Corduroy. Like
it's so good.
My
iconic.
brain can't undo that, which is interesting because I actually have a weird thing about Pearl Jam songs and guitar. I refuse to learn Pearl Jam on guitar if I accidentally stumble across a Pearl Jam song.
Yeah, you told me that.
Or if something like, for example, like we spoke about Elderly Woman. Elderly Woman, it's like the second I heard the song, I was like, okay, that's everybody knows those 4 chords. Like,
right.
So like there's certain songs that I kind of learned to play throughout the years just because I kind of stumbled upon them. But I'd never actively seek out a Pearl Jam song because it's like you don't want to learn how the magic trick is made if you really love the magician.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's kind of how I always felt about it.
And then to end on Immortality.
Oh gosh. Oh, not to end on it. You mean Hey Fox Mop and La Mama, that's me.
Right. You're right. Yeah. I'm sorry.
God,
I meant
so
the denouement of the album.
It's so weird.
Yeah. That's like a 7.5 minute song.
So much. It's so weird.
That's definitely their most experimental album. But I like it the best. And the vinyl situation is interesting.
Also, Pry 2.
Pride,
just that weird sort of like
it's like a minute.
God, it's so good.
So with Vitalogy, they did a reissue of it that's really cool and really accessible, and they added this like texture to the jacket. They made it this big
like
gatefold.
It's like a leathery.
It's like a leathery kind of like bumpy texture, which is really cool. I've been meaning to pick that up just because I like to.
Yeah,
there's a big variant between like the two different.
Right.
I'd like to grab that, but Vitalogy was interesting because when I started like getting into my Pearl Jam vinyl, I had 10, I had verses. I was like, all right, I want more. So I went to Amoeba Records and I was like, I would love to find a used Pearl Jam record today, something I don't have. And I go to the new arrival section and I flip to the second record.
Oh, geez. And
it's original pressing 1994 of Vitalogy.
Oh.
$15.
I hate you so much.
I was like, who mispriced this?
That would have been a no-brainer for
me. But it
has
like the gold foil on the cover.
Okay.
And then it came with the booklet intact, which you know that booklet. That's like crazy drawings.
That's beautiful.
It's a beautiful like companion. And it sounds great. One of my favorite records I own now because I couldn't believe the fact that I was in the parking garage being like, that'd be cool
I need to go to record stores more. But the problem is that's a rare find.
Yes.
Like that's so you say that to me and I think like I'm gonna go to New Records tomorrow. I'm gonna buy a Pearl Jam record and it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, you don't very often see Pearl Jam records used.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. My birthday is coming up. Just gonna put that out there.
Is it? That's
I mean I know you just gave me 60 cool. records, but
sell all those and you can then afford a nice Vitalogy.
One Vitalogy. That's one of those. They're all one of those. Every record is one of those.
I wouldn't say Vitalogy is a good place to start, but I would say it's a good place to finish.
For this episode?
Oh, that too.
Oh, I didn't know what you were talking about.
I was just trying to be cryptic.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
All right. Well, this was an awesome first episode. I mean, I enjoyed myself.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on. Well, you're going to be on again for the next one.
Yeah.
Because we have more.
And honestly, considering how much we talk about Pearl Jam, I think it might be a 3 or 4 parter. They do have a lot of records.
They have a lot. But we don't have to do a massive intro to the band. So I think we can knock them out.
Right. Well, I'm awesome. Totally game.
Well, thank you guys for listening to Dragon Wagon and the Too Many Records podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Feel free to shoot me an email. Let me know what you think of it.
How do people get in touch with you?
You can go to toomanyrecordsmusic@gmail.com, or you can go to my YouTube and you can go leave a comment. You can go to toomanyrecords.net and you can check out the blog and contact me through that.
What about social media?
I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram.
Is it all just Too Many Records?
It's Too Many Records. The Instagram is Too Many Records with an underscore because someone is sitting on Too Many Records.
An underscore at the end or at the beginning?
At the end.
Oh, gotcha. So it's Too Many Records underscore.
Right.
That's really weird.
One day I'll find that guy. That's
unfortunate.
The other account is totally just empty. No one's. It's just some guy.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I message him, no response.
That happened to me on Twitter. My Twitter is Liquid Jake because somebody is Jake Lloyd who's just has never tweeted ever.
Oh, it's the most
has
frustrating
never thing. And they had 9 followers, and 7 of them were clearly people that thought it was me that were friends of mine. Like when I first saw, like when Twitter first came out years and years ago, like, oh, this must be Jake. And then it's like, and he looks like a dude from he looks like Fred Durst. Like
perfect.
He's got
Maybe
a thin
Fred Durst.
He's got a thin chin strap, and he's wearing a backwards Adidas hat. And I'm like, oh, that's Jake Lloyd on Twitter. Fantastic. So my Twitter is Liquid Jake. See how I did that? That's just what we call a cheap plug. Follow me on Twitter.
Follow Jake Lloyd on Twitter. Not Jake Lloyd, Liquid Jake.
Yeah, the better Jake Lloyd.
Tune in next time for more awesome music talks at Too Many Records. Hey, Paul, what's going on?
Oh, I'm just hanging out on your podcast for a second.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
you have a podcast on this network too.
I do, yeah. It's called Myth Understood.
Could you help me understand what it's about?
I talk about Greek mythology with my friend Sarah Oliver. She says that she loves Greek mythology, but she's never actually learned about it. So I don't know how she actually loves it. But
so you teach her and call her out.
I teach her and I call her out.
Perfect.
That's basically it. It's the basis of our friendship. So yeah, if you want to watch it, too bad, it's a podcast. You can listen to it on Stitcher and iTunes, and also go to mythunderstoodpodcast.com.
Awesome. I will do that, and everyone else should do that too.
It's Dragon Wagon.